So you have 24 hours before Claude Fable moves across to its new billing structure. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to spend the next 24 hours with Fable and realistically moving forward with Fable as well until it gets a bit cheaper. So straight out the door, the most valuable thing that you can do with Fable right now is to have this plan, build, review, approve framework when you're using it, because this is where it really excels as the strategic advisor or main orchestrator. So first off, we're going to let Fable plan everything that we're doing. Any large build that you have coming up, make sure you're using Fable to do the planning phase of this, the strategy behind it, and then pawn off all of the actual work to lower models, whether that's Opus or Sonnet, Codex, whatever it is that you want to use, get it to do the dirty work. And then once that's done, you bring Fable back in to review its work, judge it, figure out what could be better, any gaps, and then switch back to any of these other models when you want to iterate the work, so on and so forth. Finally, with you being the person who approves everything at the end, obviously. The main reason for this right now is obviously cost, especially when it moves across to API, then it's going to be directly affecting the amount of money that you get charged. But I think before we get into some very specific use cases, it's important that we understand what actually makes Fable different to Opus. If we look at Opus, it pretty much has the same kind of tools that Fable does, but it's much better at these sprints where you have one specific task and it will go and get the job done. Of course, it can do much larger tasks than Sonnet, but if we're comparing Opus to Fable over here, Fable isn't something that you would be using as your daily driver because it's built for long horizon tasks. We'll get to what that means in just a second, but think of it in this case as having a really long task, and as that task gets longer, Fable's lead over models like Opus starts to get larger, whereas Opus starts to dip off, which we can clearly illustrate over here with this imaginary graph. If we look at the orange line over here being Fable, this thing just carries on building for hours on end, whereas Opus would slowly start to taper off. The important thing here is that Fable's intelligence isn't in the beginning over here. It's not vastly way more intelligent than Opus within the first window. And that's why using it for everyday tasks is really quite pointless, because its lead is not over here. Its lead is its quality over time. Because under the hood, in terms of its toolbox, it's pretty much the same thing as Opus. Opus has a 1 million context window. It can compact anything inside there. It can build memory files to carry on the conversation. You can spawn sub-agents, all of that kind of stuff. But the magic inside Fable is its training, and this is what separates it. The first thing is that reasoning is always switched on. You cannot disable it for the deep thinking and part of the process when it's working over these long tasks. The second winning thing here is its instruction retention. So this thing can stick onto a brief for hours on end, meaning it's not going to drift from its original task. But with Opus, it starts to drift over time, like you saw in that graph, because it just can't keep up with something that is severely long. You could manipulate it with various files and pawning off work and doing that over and over again, but the point is here with Fable, it's smart enough to do it for itself. Third thing is self-verification. So this thing is actually checking that the work that it's doing is true. Everything that it builds is built off of evidence-based trust. And this has happened several times with me, where it's actually gone out there and spawned its own dynamic workflows to run adversarial claims against its own work to see if the evidence backed up what it was building, which is really smart. Normally with Opus, you have to ask for that kind of thing. Its error recovery and ability to do one-shot prompts is also really good, and that's what we're going to be exploring as part of some of these other use cases. So for me, my most important use case was leveling up my cheaper models, as in increasing the baseline that I have for everything that takes place in my AI OS. Because I'm certainly not one of those people who are going to tell you to run your entire agentic OS on Fable. That's just ridiculous. But we can use Fable to increase what good looks like for everything else, so that when Sonnet and Opus run specific tasks, they're much better at it because their examples and their instructions are a lot better too. And that leads us into creating a better architecture. Now, depending on how you're using this, maybe it's for business, maybe you're a developer, whatever, your goal is to build a better architecture for the system that you have running. So that could be your harness, that could be some of the skills inside here, or it could be a specific skill that actually goes out there and builds things for you. In my case, if we look at an example of this build app skill that I have with my Atlas framework in here, with architect trace, link, assemble, and stress tests, I've done previous videos deep diving into this sort of thing. But the idea behind this is that this is going to build everything that I ever build in the future. So I want to make sure that this thing is rock solid. So increasing my architecture base specifically on this front was making sure that everything inside the skill is absolutely perfect. And in doing so, we don't just get Fable to come and rewrite a skill. We get it to go out there and do deep research online using dynamic workflows, but then also build us a whole bunch of prod files and spec files and various other things that we link inside the system over here, so that every time that we go and build an app, we have a really good framework for doing so that helps us raise our level baseline specifically for our architecture. Then the second thing that I did was create golden references. This is really important because AI loves examples. The better examples you give, the better definition of done that you provide it, the better your output is going to be. And we really want to make sure that our input is really good, because it will decrease the amount that we need to spend on the output, which is the expensive part. So having golden references inside all of our skill folders that we can use later on with cheaper models helps those cheaper models cope with the work that they need to do, because they don't have to go out there and research what good looks like. They don't have to do any other work then taking this perfectly written example that you have and then just running through the workflow. And then finally, as a part of this leveling up of our cheaper models, we want to make sure that we rebuild our skills. Now, for some of them, I did just review them and then go and make some slight edits. But models are actually way better at rebuilding from scratch than they are at editing. So the best thing that you can do is find your most valuable skills that you have inside your repo, take the original seed prompt or SOP, whatever it is that you have, do a really good review on it, and then get Fable to rebuild it for you. Build it into a clean folder and then run side-by-side comparisons on this thing to see if it actually is better than before. And again, don't use Fable to go and run these tests. You're just getting Fable to plan it, and then get Opus or Sonnet to actually go and build it and see what models you can get away with running that now that you have this really good golden image and a rebuild skill. Because remember, the entire point of this is to increase our baseline for good. Then if we come and have a look at some other high value things you could do, you want to make sure that you're building the app that you wish existed. So for me, if I flip across here, this is not something I wish existed. I've built this several times. It's just an example. But what we're doing here is using that same plan, build, review, human improve loop that I spoke about in the beginning of this video. And I told Fable that I want to build the best possible voice app out. So we're not just going to go and take normal dictation. What we're going to do here is plan something using dynamic workflows, which Fable again did automatically, and do a gap analysis between what already exists out there, but then scour every forum possible and figure out what people hate about those apps that already exist, and then add that into our research so that during the planning phase, we build an app that isn't just a clone, but actually solving problems that people have with all of those various other apps. In doing so, we have this perfectly written plan that Opus could then just go and execute, and you can see here in 15 minutes, it built the first round of this from start to finish. So there are a couple of things that I need to do on macOS to grant permissions and such things, but what I would do now is just run through it. Then I would flip it into review and get Fable to go and review the work that Opus just did, and after that I would do final improvements. If I needed to do any iterations, of course, I would juggle between Opus or Sonnet, and then up to Fable as I needed to. I do think that doing it for something like a voice app is pretty pointless because it's a really simple app to build. So when you're looking at this dream app that you're trying to build, make sure that it's actually something that is a challenge for Fable and aligns with that whole long horizon thing that we spoke about at the beginning of this video. Another thing that you can do is audit something that is massive, and there are several different paths that you can take for it. A few of the options that I did is I connected MCP, obviously, to everything inside my AI operating system, and I got it to review everything inside every SaaS that I have and tell me how I can reorganize it to make sure that it fits better into the model that I'm running inside VS Code alongside Claude Code. Another thing that you can do, because Claude keeps all of its transcripts for up to 30 days by default, but if you change your settings.json, you can actually change this to 6 months if you wanted to. So I did that a while ago, and I got this thing to traverse through every single conversation I've ever had with Claude Code to find things that I might be missing in the ways that I'm working. Did I forget any skills that I should have that I've never even thought about building? What does it understand about me and my ways of working? What bottlenecks or things around perfection do I have when I'm trying to create content that I need to get rid of? My working style. Tons of things that we mined out of those conversations because they're so large. It's really good at getting through all of that data. So for those of you might be using Obsidian, maybe you're using Notion, whatever it is where you have a whole bunch of information stashed that might look like a trash heap, you can also use this to help turn it into something that is more meaningful for you. That's going to be a really good use case for this kind of thing. Again, you don't need to get Fable to do the work. It's just there to be your strategic advisor and get all of this information for you to then get other models to go out there and do the work. And then one of the final things that you can do is actually give it a really long running task, which sounds pretty straightforward, but the benefit here with Fable, like I said, is this thing will go out there and spawn its own sub-agents. It's not like you need to be aware of what this thing is doing and actually telling it, hey, use Haiku for this, use Sonnet for that. As a part of its plan, it already knows what it needs to choose to delegate this work. Fable is smart enough to know I'm not going to use Opus and Fable for every single thing that we're building. So when it's running through this plan, delegate, self-check, remember loop, that's why you're able to leave it running for so long, because it is smart enough to know what it needs to do to get to the definition of done without wasting a ton of time or tokens and things like that. Saying that, it is still important to set a limit if you are running this thing in some form of loop. You want to make sure that you're either having a limit on the iterations that it will run or on the time if that sort of thing matters to you. But then there are 3 high-level things that we can do over here so that we don't waste Fable for the last 24 hours. I will have a separate video on efficiency in general with AI models. But for now, just note that you don't want to be using this fan-out methodology with Fable where it spawns like 90 sub-agents to go and do work. It will definitely spawn sub-agents, and it should, because it can save context a lot of the time. but when it uses a very large fan-out methodology, then you can really burn through your tokens. Second thing here, don't use Fable for some really difficult question that's going to take 30 seconds to answer, because like I said, the intelligence of Fable doesn't come from it giving you instant answers that are way smarter. It comes from its ability to work over long periods of time. And then the third thing here, do not use overthinking. Max is generally just going to have this thing stuck in a loop where it tries to be smarter than it really is and absolutely gets nowhere. For most of your workflows, high is probably going to be the highest level that you need to go for, with medium being the everyday task kind of thing. The only time I would think about using extra high is if I did have a really long horizon task where I was trying to build something extremely complex. For most of you guys in business, or most of you just doing audits of your systems and trying to refine your skills, either medium or high is going to be your sweet spot. So realistically here, even when Fable is on its own pay-per use case, you're still going to be using Opus for pretty much everything that you do. This is still a really, really good model, and it definitely outweighs anything that most business users are ever going to need it for. If it's not clear by now, Fable is the thing that steps in when you need that heavy lifting, that very large audit, the one-off task runs, or the really long builds where you actually need this capability. And for most of you, you definitely don't need to be paying for this sort of thing right now. If there is a problem that you can't solve, it could be an issue with the way that you're actually thinking about solving the problem, as opposed to a model capability problem. When Fable becomes cheaper, it will obviously become the default go-to, but until then, stick with Opus, and also watch out for my video that's coming on later this week, where I will look at model efficiency as a whole, so that we can figure out how to pay even less for Fable once we have to start paying for it. I hope this video was helpful. Leave some comments down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, you can check out the videos on the screen. They'll definitely help you in your journey, or you can look at my community where I'm helping AI builders every single day. I'll see you guys later.